Hello, my name is Bidemi. I'm a fundamentally curious individual. I learn by talking to people from all walks of life, and that shows up here on the Big Picture podcast. So, with my background in academia, technology, and cybersecurity, my goal is simple: to help you build a healthier relationship with technology, whether it's your devices or emerging tools like AI, and ultimately how all of that shows up in your everyday life. So I do that through honest conversations with experts, founders, and problem solvers, in addition to deep dives on the topics that actually affect you. If you've made it this far, thank you. Whether you've been here since I started recording on January 11, 2021, or you are listening because a friend shared an episode on your group chat, every single play reminds me why I started. Today, this show reaches 193 countries, and that is because of you. So here is a small favor that would make a big difference. If you listen regularly, but for some reason you haven't followed or subscribed yet, please tap follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And then share this episode or your favorite episode with one person who would find it useful. Right now, less than 30% of regular listeners follow the show. Joining that group helps me keep bringing you thoughtful conversations and timely deep dives in technology, cybersecurity, and everything in between. I promise to keep showing up every week with my very best and with guests that you actually want to hear from. So thank you for listening, thank you for sharing, and thank you for being part of the Big Picture community. So today I'm unpacking a tough but urgent signal from public health and why it will reshape how technology is built for young people. The latest national data show that adolescent mental health continues to worsen. 4 in 10 high school students report persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. Rate of suicidal thoughts and attempts remain elevated. The US Surgeon General has issued 2 public warnings about social media's potential harms to youth and has even floated tobacco-style warning labels. And the stress here is not limited to teenagers. Parental stress is acting like a force multiplier at home. So what is the implication of all this? The trust bar for technology used by minors is rising very fast. That means schools and brands will be pushed toward time-bounded by default experiences, no algorithm kid modes, and third-party audit trails. All these dovetail with age verification battles, but with a different center of gravity, which is measurable well-being. So let's break this down. First, the facts. The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in their 2023 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, often called YRBS, indicates that adolescent mental health has continued to worsen. Approximately 40% of high schoolers report persistent sadness or hopelessness. Suicidal ideation and attempts remain elevated compared to pre-pandemic baselines. At the same time, the US Surgeon General has issued 2 formal advisories warning about potential harms from social media use among youth and has suggested warning labels similar in spirit to tobacco warnings as one lever to inform families. So why does this matter for technology? Because these are not edge cases headlines anymore. They are moving the Overton window, which is the set of ideas the public considers acceptable, from maybe there is a problem to prove your product isn't part of the problem. And remember, family stress compounds this picture. When parents are overwhelmed, either financially, emotionally, or logistically, boundaries and routines suffer. That amplifies late night scrolling, loss of sleep, and conflict over devices. The home becomes the front line where product design meets real life. Historically, the conversation focused on safety features, content filters, parental controls, and policies that basically say, don't be evil. All these are necessary, yes, but they are increasingly becoming insufficient. So the new bar now is trust. And trust here means something very specific. On average, does this product leave a minor better off, either emotionally, socially, or even academically, without requiring expert level configuration by their parents or schools? If the answer depends on parents discovering obscure settings, the product fails the modern trust test. If the product's benefits come with invisible trade offs, such as sleep disruption, exposure to self harm themes, or compulsive use, that is going to be unacceptable to families, schools, and regulators. So, what time bounded by default should actually mean? So, you're going to hear this phrase a lot: time bounded by default. Here is a practical definition that you can easily apply to define that term. So, first is default daily limit for minors, not opt-in. They have to be clear, enforceable caps with a calm, non punitive countdown. Another one is auto pause at night that is aligned with typical sleep patterns for school age users. Basically, quiet hours that take effect unless a parent explicitly changes them. Another one is friction for infinite scroll. Short, natural stopping points that require a conscious choice to continue. Another one is on-device summaries. So something along the lines of, you've been here for 18 minutes and here are the things you did on this app. Awareness is a big part of well-being. Last but not the least is no dark pattern override. So the keep going button can be brighter and bigger or even gamified for minors. If your product team says, but engagement will drop, well, that is the point. The metric to optimize for with minors is healthy completion, not maximum time. So what does no algorithm kid modes look like? Recommendation engines are great at finding what keeps us watching. For kids and teenagers, that can also mean spirals into extreme or fragile content. A credible no algorithm kid mode includes stuff like chronological or human curated feeds with no personalization loops. It also includes topic whitelists that are built with educators and clinicians, such as homework help, sport highlights, music creativity, that are also kept narrow by design. Another one is strict search fences. Exploratory queries return a bounded set of vetted results. Another one is no follower counts, no like streaks, or public comments by default. Social proof is adult grade dopamine. Last but not the least, simple exit ramps. So the adult product at the age of 18, 21, or whatever the agreed age limit is, with a transparent transition as well as an audit log. So this is not about bubble wrapping the internet. It's about a developmentally appropriate mode that is both useful and boring enough to resist compulsion. So what does third-party audit trails look like? If there is one feature that separates marketing from accountability, it's an independent audit trail. So here is the idea. A product used by minors maintains a tamper-evident log. Exposures to sensitive themes, nudges delivered, nighttime use, time spent after limits, and major policy changes. The logs can be reviewed by an external auditor under privacy preserving controls, and high level aggregate indicators are shareable with schools and parents. So, why does this matter? Three main points. It reduces the incentive to hide harmful design patterns. It creates a feedback loop for measurable well being outcomes. And it aligns with how safety critical industries operate. Think aviation, think pharmaceuticals, where logs are non negotiable. So, privacy should not be a shield against accountability. With modern techniques, aggregation, differential privacy, and strict access, you can protect identities while still proving outcomes. So, one concept I wanted to discuss is the age verification versus well being. So, age verification is becoming a hot policy fight. Do you scan IDs? Do you use face estimates? Or do you rely on App Store settings? It is messy and it's going to stay messy. But here is the shift. The center of gravity is moving from who are you to what does this product do to you? So think of age gates as the door. Well-being measurement is the house. If you cannot demonstrate that your minor facing features support healthy sleep, positive social interaction, and reduced exposure to harmful content, then even a perfect age gate won't buy you trust. Expect schools, brands, and eventually regulators to ask for evidence of benefit, not just proof of an age estimate. So, what should schools demand in procurement? If you are in K to 12 procurement or ed technology, first should be default limit attestation. Vendors must ship time bounded default for minors, no extra licensing, no hidden toggles. Another one is the kid mode requirement, a non algorithmic mode with topic fences and comment off by default. Another one is audit ready logs, commitment to independent audits with a data sharing addendum that protects student privacy. Another one is sleep safe design, nighttime auto pause, and school day focus modes. Last but not the least, outcome reporting. Every semester, privacy safe reports on use patterns and well-being proxies, late night use reductions, decreased repeat exposure to flagged topics, and improved active versus passive ratios. So price is not the only lever. You should tie renewals to evidence. So what should consumer brands stop and start? For brands with apps that reach teenagers, they should stop shipping teen-friendly experiences that rely on the adult personalization graph. They should stop using dark patterns such as streaks, loot boxes, variable rewards tuned for minors. And they should also stop nighttime push notifications for any non-urgent content. They can start time-bounded by default for users identified or likely to be minors. They can start kid modes with curated content, sponsor credible creators who teach and uplift. And they can also start well-being scorecards in product reviews and investor updates. If you measure it, then it's something you tend to improve. The market will reward brands that de-risk youth engagement before they are forced to. So what does measurable well-being look like for a general purpose app used by minors? Core indicators include sleep hygiene proxy, reduction in sessions between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. local time for minor accounts. Another one is active to passive ratio, time spent creating, editing, learning, or messaging trusted contacts versus passive consumption. Another one is sensitivity exposure rates, the percentage of sessions with exposure to self-harm, eating disorder, or hate content, even if encountered briefly, and even when user initiated. Another one is nudge effectiveness. How often do gentle prompts, such as time for a break, actually end a session within 2 minutes? Another one is escalation success. When a minor searches for crisis terms, how often do they reach credible resources quickly? And then some examples of process controls. One is quarterly third-party review of the audit trail. Another one is public summary statements, short, readable, and comparable across companies. And then a red team exercise focused on minors, such as can the product be gamed into harmful loops? If you're a product leader, you should build these into your OKRs. If you're a school district, you should make them contract clauses. So, what should we look out for next over the next year? Three developments to watch for include labeling pressure, the movement toward clear front of app disclosures for minors, basically what the product does by default and what risks remain. Another one is interoperable audit standards. Industry groups or nonprofits proposing shared log schemas for youth safety audits. And then third one is procurement playbooks. Big school systems standardizing RFP language that requires time-bounded defaults, kid modes, and audit trails. Each of these will push the ecosystem toward outcomes, not just optics. So, what are some practical takeaways? First, this trend is real. Adolescent mental health indicators are going the wrong way. Warnings from the US Surgeon General have raised the stakes. Then, trust and safety checklists. Families, schools, and brands will demand proof of benefits, especially for time and sleep. And then, the design for default well-being. Time-bounded experiences, no algorithm kid modes, and third-party audit trails are quickly becoming table stakes. So to wrap up, this conversation can be heavy. If you need support in the US, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For international listeners, please check your local resources. If you found today's episode useful, please share it with a school leader, a product manager, or a parent in your life or within your circles. The more we align on measurable well-being for young people, the better our technology and our society.